Hey friends, welcome to this episode of Coaching Conversations. We're going to talk about shame. And we're going to talk about shame, how the nuances of it manifests in each type. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because anytime we're learning about how different things show up in our type, this is not prescriptive. This is not like, this is exactly how it looks for type 2s. This is to give you a general direction around which to do your own exploration. Because there are so many nuances in each type, because there's so many differences in life experiences, in culture, in background, and all of that flavors how things actually show up when we're looking at behaviors. But when we know motivation and we know some general things about our type, it can help us know where to look. So it's like if you're searching for a needle in a haystack and I say, try looking right here. It's not going to tell you the exact location of the needle, but it's going to give you a little bit more understanding around where to look, kind of what to look for. And yes, that's helpful to know where to look, but it's also helpful because our ego is very good at hiding from us, very good at hiding what it's doing. And it's always trying to protect us and keep us in a small little box. So when we're doing Enneagram work and we're looking to expand, we're looking to experience more freedom, we're looking to experience a little bit more of our essence, then we've got to be wise to what our ego is trying to do, because otherwise, gosh, I can't tell you how many times I have thought that I am doing such good work around shame, or I'm doing such good work around my type, only to find that it was actually my ego keeping me locked up anyways in its small little world, and I didn't even realize it because it's so good at deceiving us. So that's my hope behind doing little trainings like this, is to kind of open our eyes so that ego doesn't trick us quite so much, and we can have more intention, and we're doing things less out of like a subconscious, just patterned behavior. So when we talk about shame, obviously there's an entire triad called the shame triad. So it's very easy to figure out how that triad manifests the shame, but we will go over that. But there's shame in the other two triads as well. Don't get it twisted. Each triad is focused on a different aspect of reality. Okay, so the body triad, which are types 1, 9, and 8, are focused on the totality of existence. They're focused on the objective truth in the world, almost apart from ourselves. Now, obviously, we always take things, we look at them, and then we want to draw them into ourselves. But the main focus of each type is in the totality of existence and the objective truth of the world, how things are, just period, how things are. And for ones, it's, are things good? Is there goodness in the world? Are things right? For nines, it's, is there peace and harmony in the world? And then for eights, it's, is there justice and rightness in the world, in the sense of people are not being betrayed or taken advantage of, or, so eights then kind of struggle with vengeance. If I see justice is not happening, some people are being taken advantage of, or things are not, done right, and it's harming other people, then I exert my vengeance on that. I exert my power on that. I'm going to make things right. For nines, are things in harmony and at peace? And if they're not, then I'm going to do whatever it takes, merging, disappearing, whatever it takes to create peace, to bring peace about in the world. And then for ones, is there goodness in the world? Are things being done right? And if there's not, then I will step in and fix. I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to make sure that things are right. So as these three types look at the world in the totality of existence and they perceive lack, then they try to fill it themselves. And then you can see how that manifests, as we start looking at behaviors and you start observing yourself, you're like, wow, yeah, what I'm doing is coming out of a perception of lack in the totality of existence, a perception of lack in there being justice, or there being peace, or there being goodness. And so shame, though, how shame fits into that is when we're not enough, right? Shame is a reaction to a feeling of being not enough or too much. Okay, not enough or too much. Those are the two sides of the coin that we call shame. And you can see how 8s, 9s, and 1s can all feel shame, can all feel like they are not enough and too much, both at the same time. For 1s, it's going to revolve around, I was not enough to make this right, I feel shame. Or in trying to make this right, I'm coming off as too much, too controlling, too energetic, too, 1s can just kind of get in there. 1s can be intense, right? They're trying to make it right, trying to make the world right, and they can come off as too much to other people and then start to feel like, oh man, I was trying to do something good, but people are not responding well to that, and I feel like I'm too much for them. I feel like I'm too much for this space, but I'm driven by this desire to make things good, make things right. And so that's where shame will most likely hit for type 1s. It's feeling that they're not enough to make things right in the world, or they're too much as they're trying to make things right in the world. For 9s, the feeling of not enough, feeling like I'm not enough to be seen, to matter, to be connected with, right? Because as 9s try to create peace, they do so by trying to be unaffected by the world, disengage from the chaos or the potential chaos that could happen. And as they disengage, though, they start to feel an inner lack of peace, because when you're not seen, when you're not mirrored, when you're not taken into account, that's actually the base of trauma, right? All trauma stems from someone feeling as if they are not seen, mirrored, or taken into account. And so as a 9 disengages to create a false peace, but a peace that they think will happen if they disengage, then there's an inner turmoil of I don't feel like I matter, I don't feel like I'm seen, I don't feel like I'm being taken into account. And so then the shame comes in. Or if there is chaos externally, so that's the internal chaos. If there is chaos externally, they can feel like, oh, I was too much. I asserted myself too much. I tried to ask for too much. I should have just disengaged and minimized myself. And so the shame will come on either side, too much or not enough. With 8s, we can see shame coming in when they try to exert themselves and they bring their energy and they're going to make things right, and they have that vengeance and that holy anger, and it is often perceived by others as too intense, too much, too strong. Now, 8s shift most emotions into anger. Anger is their primary emotive category. So when they start to feel shame, they can almost instantly shift it into anger. Oh, I'm too much for you? Well, too bad for you. That's just who I am, right? So they start to feel the shame, and then instantly, as a defense mechanism, because shame does really get at some really deep, tender parts of us, and 8s are trying to protect those deep, tender parts of themselves, the minute that shame starts creeping in, it gets converted into anger, which can then be pushed outward. So 8s may be a little bit, you may have to get quiet with yourself and allow yourself to even be vulnerable with yourself before you can recognize the shame. Or for some 8s, it's very easy to recognize when they're feeling shame, when they're feeling like they are too much for others, and that shame kind of comes in. And especially because 8s actually want to protect others, not hurt. When 8s notice that their energy and intensity has hurt others, and they're actually trying to protect them, to hurt the very ones that you're trying to protect can feel very, very, very hurtful and shame. Like, I was too much, and I actually hurt this person that I was trying to protect, that I was trying to love, that I was trying to care for. So that's where 8s can feel that shame of too much. And then where 8s can feel shame of being not enough is when 8s bump up against physical limitations, right? So if you're trying to bring justice into the world, vengeance into the world, making things right, well, there's just too much. It can't be done. It can't be done. But 8s don't like to believe that there is something that they cannot do. If they can just put out more energy, if they can just put out more power, if they can just think about it a little bit more deeply, they can find a way. And at some point, our physical bodies just cannot be pushed any longer. And so 8s will come into they'll hit a wall, and they'll hit it hard, and they'll realize, I'm not enough to transform what I want to transform. I've hit a wall, and that hitting a wall can cause some shame. And when 8s hit that wall and experience that shame, usually they retreat back into 5 space. So we all have numbers that we access their energy when we experience a lot of stress, and which is a beautiful thing. It helps us to bring balance. Every type needs to have a retreat. Almost like if you're in a battle, right? And you're attack. Okay, it's time to retreat, run away. The number we go to in stress is like a safe fort where when we need to retreat, we can retreat to it and we could breathe for a minute. It provides a balancing energy to where we normally operate. It's not someplace we want to stay for long. It's not someplace that we even feel very comfortable in sometimes, but it's a safe place that provides a balancing energy that is necessary. We all need a place to retreat to. And 8s retreat to type 5 energy, which is much more private, much more quiet, much more like I want to be away from people and I don't want to bring my energy to the world, which is such a difference, a stark difference from how 8s normally operate. So that's how 8s engage with shame, and how 9s engage with shame, and how 1s engage with shame. And all of it we can see is revolved around this idea that they are focused on, body triad is focused on the totality of existence, the basic realities of life, objective truth of how things are in the world. All right, tomorrow I'm going to cover the heart triad, and then the next day we'll cover the head triad, so I can give plenty of time for each type. But hopefully that has given you some great things to think about when it comes to shame and the body triad, and I'll see you in the next couple of days to keep going on the rest of the types.